have a hypothetical for you. Let's say that I am a constipated professional, a manager, and I realize that in order to move forward in business, I've got to make changes. It's necessary to adapt and to grow. What can I learn, and how can I best open myself to that change from specifically the arts, from ballroom dance, from music, from what have you?
I think the question that you're raising, there's similar ways to express that question, but I think it all comes back to one point. At least from what I've learned from the conversations with my students, it all comes back again and again to the question of courage. Do I have the courage to go my way? Do I have the courage to do what I feel for me would be the right thing? And I have to add, I'm a strong believer in the fact that if we go to a quiet place and we take some moments off, everybody of us knows what his or her inner voice says that would be the right thing. And we just very often tend to not listen to that voice, but rather listen to the voice that tells us what should be done, not to get a too harsh reaction from the outside. Sometimes we overvalue the outside over our inner side.
Why do you think that happens?
Sometimes I think it has to do with a feeling which I think is quite common these days. People think that they are victims of the world and victims of what happens in this world. And they have the feeling that things are much bigger than they can handle, and what they do wouldn't make a difference. And I'm always trying to say, you know what, if everybody thinks like that, nothing's gonna change. Of course, I personally, I can't make a change. I can't make a change for the complete world climate. But there's definitely something that I can do within my own influence, and this is where I think where it takes courage, and also in professional decisions, and what I think is important, Paul. I've always wondered, you know, when this whole digital thing started, everybody was using rhetorics of threat. That this whole digital thing is a threat. You know, this is digitize or die. Uber yourself before you get Kodak. You know, these whole phrases that have been throwing around back and forth. And I was always wondering, you know, why did I never feel this whole digital thing to be a threat? And I realized when I was writing my book, well, this is how we dancers look at the world. You know, if you're a dancer and you are working on a choreography and you reach that moment where you really master that choreography, maybe for a world championship or whatever, and imagine somebody would come up to that dancer and saying, perfect, this choreography is perfect, and now you're doing this for the next 20 years of your life. This is where you actually kill that dancer, because this is what the dancers want. Once we've mastered this, we want to do the next thing. There's a new piece of music, there's a new piece of dance, there's a new person that we have met, there's a new community we want to be part of. And this is the whole magic, you know, of exploring and exploring and exploring. And we want to find out if we can master it. And this is why we are not intimidated by this endless view. And also, a dancer is never finished. We know that when we start as a dancer, you're never done. And you like it. You're not threatened by it. This is the amazing thing about dancing. And I always try, coming back to business, this is what I try to tell my teams and also the people I'm working with, you know, this is the room of opportunity. Let's imagine what kind of choreographies we can build. This is the kind of experiences that we can create. And isn't this fun? You know, having the ability to try things out. Yes, and maybe we fail. Maybe we will figure out that this kind of movement, well, not my piece of cake, or this kind of dance. Well, to be honest, I love Argentine tango, but if you have ever been to a 3 hours milonga, where you hear 3 hours of Argentine tango, this is really, you are close to suicide after these 3 hours, you know, and that's it. That's something, you know, where I say, okay, I love Argentine tango, but not for 3 hours, you know. And you know, the same thing happens in business. We get into things, we give it a try, we try to master it with all what we've learned before, and eventually you say, well, I don't like it, but I've learned what could be the other dance that I like more. And then you get into it, and then you realize, oh wow, that's it. That's my kind of dance. And then you go into it. And I think, you know, looking at it from there, it doesn't need courage because it's not a threat. It's something that's fun. And this is where you say, well, this kind of awakens that kid inside yourself where you say, okay, I want to try out. Let's find this out. Put the music on and put the volume up, you know. And I think it's important that we also frame the future of innovation and frame the work for the people working on innovation in that way, not for the sake of enthusiasm and young people shooting with water guns in a Berlin startup collaboration center, but simply for the understanding, if we want to create serious innovation, we need to have fun with exploring and trying out. Otherwise, we are never exploring enough, at least for my understanding. As long as we see it as a threat and we ask questions like, do you think we can do this? Do you think we can manage this? This is not the advice that enables you to jump far. You will always have this tight-knit rope with your past, and you will always tend to underestimate yourself. And I think it's not about the threat, it's exploring about what is possible. And I see this when I work with kids, you know, asking kids the question, do you think you can make it? Every kid will be in. I said, I'll show you. I try. I want to find out. And this is where I say, you know, being an adult with 48 years, sometimes it helps to be more like a kid and think, okay, I'll find out. And as adults, sometimes we think we have so much to lose, you know, but having so much to lose actually means standing still. And being a dancer, this is what I want to do till the end of my life, till I go down to the grave. I want to explore things. I want to hear music. I want to hear new songs. And I think that's the way to go beyond the question that you raised. When you have these moments in your life, you know, what is the music that you would choose for your next dance? And if you have a clear feeling, just put it on.
I think this is absolutely important, especially what you said on remaining or keeping or preserving or protecting the kid in you, even when you become an adult. The current educational system really pushes you to answer questions the right way and to follow guidelines as they were presented to you. And that sort of creates a tendency to want to always have the right answer from the first time, which does not really reflect what happens in the real world, especially when we're in the process of innovating, creating, and coming up with new, fresh ideas. There's a process of exploration that is really anchored in the power of failure, in the power of errors, in the power of making mistakes, and in the power, therefore, of iteration until you reach a good outcome and a good conclusion. And I think the fact that we have been through the educational system for such a long period of time, we end up being afraid of failing, being afraid of having the wrong answer, being afraid of making the wrong step. And dancing sort of frees us from this, because of course we are going to make the wrong step. Of course we're going to make the step the wrong way, and we're going to repeat not one mistake, but several mistakes, several times until we finally reach a point where we understand how things work and how we can perform them. And once we have that understanding, this is where we can start to innovate with the step that we have in dancing. You have something to say, I can feel it.
Yeah, I think, and I want to add on what you said, and I think one of the mistakes that I see very often when people say, you know, as adults, we have to think more like kids or remember how we were thinking as kids. Some people have the misperception that this means just playing around. And no, it isn't. As a dancer, the one thing as a Latin dancer, what you practice hundreds and thousands and millions of times is a Latin step forward. And you're doing this, and this is really, really hard work. And of course, for what we do in innovation, we need to understand the methods. We need to practice certain things that are essential to build our choreography upon. And that's also, you know, I don't think it's also not right if you really have young kids, just let them play around. They need to understand that there are things in life when you want to achieve something, you need to practice hard. And there's no way around that sweat, blood, and tears if you want to achieve that goal. And telling them something else is actually lying at them, because this is not how the world works. You know, bringing these two things together, having the experience of many years of work, being a professional, having seen different floors, different dances, having been practicing over many years, having been throwing down in competitions, raising up in competitions, and using this as assets to create a new chapter for my next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I think this kind of thinking also helps, especially companies, to say, okay, what's in our past that we can use? What have we learned? What have we mastered? And now, as we are here with all the new opportunities, the new music, the new sound, the new floors, what can we create from there? And I think this would be a much more inviting way of telling people about digital times and digital innovation than the disrupting, threatening, you need to kill the old speech that we see very often in the marketplace.
So can we expect a sequel for your book titled From Ballroom to Boardroom?
Actually, as this book is quite new, I haven't spent much time thinking about the sequel. And
now you can.
Now you can, and for some reason I get very much requests for a sequel. Yeah, but you know, I'm happy with the situation as it is. Let's face it, when I came up with the idea of writing a book, everybody expected me to write a book about digital. And even when I was talking to the publishers later on, I really had one guy telling me, come on, if you had written a book about digital project management, we would have immediately published it. And I asked him, but you know, there's thousands, literally thousands of books on that topic out there. Why should I write another book on that topic? And he was like, yes, but it's a safe bet. And I was like, okay, now I learned that you're not the right publisher for me. Of course, I knew I'm working a lot together with technology people, and you know, there's this image of tech people being nerdy, and I didn't know, to be honest, how all the digital bubble would react on me writing a book about dancing, but I thought to myself, well, unfortunately, that's my life. This is what's happened in my life. I don't have a different life. And this is how all these things came into play. And I'm sorry, I'm not a soccer player. I'm not a volleyball player. I'm not a golfer. So I'm a dancer. And this is why I wrote this book. And I was amazed when I published it in Germany, how many tech people opened up themselves about being a dancer or being a musician. And also then the other guys came up who are athletes in different disciplines. And I'm really happy that it opened up at least in certain areas, the discussion about, well, that's me. And I love the conversations that I had, like yours with you, Alexandra, because they all started with, well, that's me. And so much, so very often in my professional past, I met people where the conversation started with, this is how I want to look like. Mm. And so now we are talking on a different level. We are not trying, nobody is trying to give me his fake picture or his title or whatever. The people starting the conversation about the book is, this is me. I've experienced the same. I'm doing this. I'm a musician. I tell you a secret, the guy who is doing the next award, he approached me, and he turned out to be a thrash metal drum player. Nice. And this was so funny because we were talking about being a thrash metal drum player and the interactions that he knows and the interactions that I knew from dancing. And if we would have met, 5 years ago, a CDO would have met an agency CNO talking about the award. I think it's easy to see which discussion and which conversation was much more rewarding, much more inspiring, much more connecting and bonding between the two of us. And if I can add a bit, just a little bit, to this different way of people meeting people, then it was all worth it. And of course, it's a present for my kids. And one day when I'm already gone, they will have a book with pictures of their father talking about digital and dancing. And well, that was me.